Each a returning champion, Elgin Intensity, aka the Trapoeira Master. And those are the contestants whom Jubilee cast, along with some fishing nets for its game show, Odd One Out. The object of the game is for people with common characteristics to guess who is pretending to fit into their group. If the active contestants identify the mole, then they split the prize money, and from the looks of them, a tanker truck of mayonnaise. Otherwise, the mole keeps it all. Let's see whether those large mammals can identify each other through sound alone.
Where do you guys buy your jeans from?
That honestly depends. I've had some luck. I mean, I present more masculine.
And SNL presented that thing from 90 to 94.
So a lot of the times I will resource to Old Navy. I'll just kind of go there and get one of the bigger pairs. I actually did just get a pair from Old Navy a couple weeks ago and I love it, but it's a little big in the waist, so I do have to take it in.
Stop going to the tailor and go to the gym, because cinching a trash bag full of mashed potatoes doesn't make it look any less like garbage.
It depends what style I'm going for.
True.
For fitted jeans, I definitely think Good American's my go-to. Obviously they're on the higher end of pricing wise, but they make my ass look great.
Yeah, those jeans really accentuate her gunt. When Mos Def rapped about an ass so fat that you could see it from the front, this is not what he meant.
I'm still in the mentality when I was 16, 17 and I could fit in a medium. So I'm oh, I can't go to the same stores. I can't go to a mall and buy clothes anymore.
So she plunders the food court. She's not too fat to shop at the mall because almost every clothing store there has a plus size section. She just can't wear her old size. She'd go right through a medium like she's trying to talk to the dead.
The reason that I chose to do this was mainly because it meant a lot to me to share the idea of as you transition away from being in a bigger body to potentially being in a skinnier body.
These weirdos refer to losing weight as transitioning away from a bigger body to a skinny body, and looking butch as presenting masculine. If they keep their stomachs as empty as their jargon, they might be able to see their feet without having them amputated first.
That is not something that makes you harder working or better at achieving some sort of goal than the other person or another person that you may see in a plus size body.
Becoming obese takes no effort and ruins your life. Any step away from that is an achievement. When he refers to a person in a plus size body, he's talking about the bariatric surgeon operating on it.
And going into it, I promised myself I wasn't going to tell any lies. I was going to be very truthful and speak on every kind of experience that I had had leading up to today. I wanted to make sure that what I was saying was stuff that I'd lived through. I think putting on a character would be disrespectful to the other people that were here today.
Most people in the US are overweight or obese, so it's not like he's punching down. Everyone else knows the premise of the show, so it's their own fault if they can't handle misdirection. If he thinks pretending to be fat is disrespectful, wait till he hears what men pretend to be to win medals. Besides, nobody there would be able to tell whether he used to be fat or is playing a character. He doesn't bring out old photos of himself, and he's not a well-known former Chungus like Jared from Subway, who, like Marcel, wants to squeeze into children's clothes too.
Back in my actual hometown, I can go to my tailor very easily. It's a 5-minute drive from my house.
Okay.
So I thrift probably 90% of my clothing, cheaper, saves energy, and it feels way easier.
There is no way he's gonna go pay $15 for jeans, then go pay $45. I get it, as a plus size person, tailoring for some things, great. But I could not believe for a second that he is tailoring every set. And I was he is not fat anymore.
Right, that's why he's the skinny guy. Not because he's the only one up there who doesn't have the muffled chipmunk cheek voice that fat people have. Between that and the fact that his chair isn't squeaking, it's obvious that Derek is the mole. But it's anyone's guess as to which one of their asses he was removed from. In round 2, they move on from the topic of plus-size clothes, which is fine by me, because if I wanted to know how to dress a hog, I'd ask a hunter.
Yeah. So I was on the math team for my elementary school, which was very fun and I enjoyed it a lot. But before our first meet, when we were doing practices and such, they gave us the vest sizes. And I remember putting on the largest vest size that they had, and it clinging to my skin and making me very uncomfortable. And I walked into the bathroom and I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was I can't do this, and I quit.
If he thinks that red tarp he calls a sweatshirt fits properly, then maybe that vest wasn't too tight after all.
As a woman in a plus size theater community, it's I always got the funny roles or the really unattractive roles.
Because of your belly rolls. She's really trying to get everyone to feel sorry for her because of typecasting, which happens to actors far more famous than she is. If you don't want to keep playing funny fat friend number 3, then start caloric deficit number 1.
And I'm I'm big, that doesn't mean I'm hilarious.
While I don't doubt that you're not hilarious, dying early from the complications of obesity is the killing joke.
How do we all identify? Do we identify, what do we use to label ourselves if you have one?
PHAT. Thank you.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have a weird feeling about that one for some reason.
That weird feeling is taking an acronym that Chris Tucker used to describe Heather Locklear in Money Talks without any of the misdirection that made it funny because you're flabby.
I'll say fat, and then people be like, "Oh my God, fat!" And then I'll be like, "It's not inherently a bad
No,
word.
not a
It's
taboo
an
word. That's the
adjective."
biggest-
It's not inherently bad when describing a paycheck, but it is when describing a physique. Case in point, they spend the entire video lamenting the difficulties of obesity. Sounds inherently bad to me.
I
That's
say
the
fat all
thing.
the
No, but it
time.
is kind of taboo because I was like, oh yeah, I'm fat. Don't say that. You're beautiful. I am gorgeous, but I am fat.
I didn't say I was ugly.
It's oh my god,
Yeah,
bro.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
I was
People
like,
treat it like it's
right,
taboo, and
right.
that's
So
the issue, really.
it's two truths.
And two chins. Excess fat not only makes your body more asymmetrical and gross, but most people correctly associate it with laziness and poor health, which are undesirable as well. Whenever I hear I'm gorgeous from a ham planet, I remember Hamlet, because the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Being fat or plus size does not mean that we're not active, that we're not nice people, that we're not worthy.
Worthy of a gastric bypass. The issue isn't her activity level, which I'm sure is low anyway, but that her caloric intake far exceeds it. None of them could even stand during the whole show like the contestants in other episodes did. I guess it would have been a dead giveaway if everybody but Derek were gasping for air while they talked.
I think the odd one out is probably somebody who lived as a fat
It used
person,
to be, yeah.
but lost the weight. But usually, a lot of the times, people that do grow up fat or go through weight loss journey, they end up being more fat phobic.
The explanation is simple, V for Velveeta. When you exercise regularly and maintain a caloric deficit, you'll realize that getting in shape is not the insurmountable task that fat people make it out to be. They're just weak and prefer to make excuses. Plus, it's easier to lose weight than it is to live with the consequences of obesity. If they thought finding clothes that fit was tough, they're going to hate finding vehicles that fit their mobility scooters.
In my personal experience, people that go from being in a bigger body into like becoming skinny feel some sort of resentment, especially because I think they tie achievement to what they've done for some reason. Like there's this very big principle of like, look at what I've done, and they push this like American dream-esque mentality of like,
Yeah,
like
and
genuinely
it's
like I worked
exactly-
hard and I did this, and it's like, well, not everybody wants to
yeah,
do that.
and, like,
Because they're lazy, and slow because they didn't catch him implying that they're lazy. Losing weight is a personal achievement, just like those chairs holding their weight is a manufacturing achievement.
that's fine.
like,
That's fine. If you want to lose weight, do that. But you don't need to like project that onto everyone else.
If you quit smoking crack, good for you, but stop projecting and pass me the rock.
I've met many guys who were like, I used to be big, so I understand that being smaller is more desirable. And it's just like this conversation just rubs me the wrong way because I've been met with so many people who think like that. And like the worst person I dated was very fat phobic, and they used to be bigger and they lost weight, and they were like shaming me about my body, being like, we'd have better sex if you were smaller and all that shit.
Breaking a man's bed before he even gets into it will make him lash out, but he's right. She'd have more stamina and they'd both have less joint pain. I guess she'd rather lie there like a dead whale.
I moved to the US when I was 16 and I started gaining weight. The life here is different. I wasn't as active. I wasn't doing sports anymore. And then I was on birth control. So for me, it was hormonal imbalance that made me gain a lot of weight.
So much for her earlier comment about fat people not necessarily being inactive. She blamed birth control, but the problem was portion control.
But it really sucked. And, in my own skin, I'm going to start crying. I'm sorry. Like being skinny and like now you're fat and like everybody treats you different.
She's getting closer to her dream body. Crying does nothing, but getting on a diet and hitting the gym will pick her fat ass up like a BBL.
I definitely relate to that. I'm a bulimia survivor. I was bulimic for about 8 years. And I also played volleyball and it was in theater and stuff like that. And the only reason I stopped throwing up and binging and purging is because I was losing my voice.
When it comes to bulimia, it ain't over till the fat lady can't sing.
1, 2, 3.
I knew it.
I hope that in watching this video, somebody can learn that the horrible stereotype that they have of plus size people, whether that be that they're lazy or sluggish or they don't eat right or they're not healthy. There are people that are plus size that are faster than you.
Yeah, at dying. They can't beat anybody in a race, unless it's a completionist run of the Golden Corral.
I'm sorry to anybody that shared something personal and then like because of this feels like they were lied to.
I bet he apologized because he thought that one of them would be hungry and enraged enough to transition him from a small body to a large body through peristalsis. Instead of worrying about the potential lies from the mole, they should acknowledge the actual lies they tell themselves and each other about obesity. Otherwise, they'll soon be lying in another crowded room waiting to be identified.
0.
Like the video and subscribe to the channel now.